in mind that don't block passageways, etc., block people. People need to get past. So we need to just keep simple things like that. I'll hand it over to Ustad, please.
Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, everyone. First of all, welcome to Seville. This is Ishbiliya, Seville, once upon a time the capital of Islam in Al-Andalus in Islamic Spain. This was most importantly the capital of the Al-Murabetun, and then after them Al-Muwahhidun. Okay, and they built a lot of things here, so I want to keep it as simple as possible. You can see that river over there. There is a river, and this river is ancient, like many other rivers in the world, right? And most important cities were built on rivers. Can you give me more examples?
Egypt.
Yeah. Cairo, or Pharaoh, London, River Thames. Istanbul is on the sea, it's Bosphorus. Sorry? Paris, you can say, yes. And Rome is on a river. Okay. Praha. So, Lahore, yes. Lahore. Okay. So why is that? The reason is, this is for strategic reasons, so that you can easily transport goods, you can transport armies, you can make things easy for yourself logistically, thinking from a government's perspective, right? So likewise, this place is no different. Seville, Ishbiliya, okay, is an ancient city. It was built here specifically on the river for the same reason why Rome was built next to a river, why, Lahore and London is on River Thames, or River Thames runs through London now, right? There is a reason for that. So this river is very important, and what you see behind me is one of the standing Muslim monuments in Al-Andalus in Islamic Spain. It's called Torre del Oro. Okay, the Golden Tower, correct? The Golden Tower.
Torre is tower and oro is gold. Torre
Okay,
del oro.
so
In Spanish?
there could be reasons why it was called the Golden Tower. Maybe there was gold decoration on the top, or whether there was gold kept here, and we know there was gold kept here, because one of the facts that not many people know is that when Christopher Columbus came back from his adventures in the Americas, or Hispaniola, where he landed, he discovered the natives, he discovered gold, and he brought a lot of things with him, a lot of commodities, and they were stored here, right here. His ship docked here. When he returned from the Atlantic Ocean, came into the river, and this river is called what? Wadi al-Kabir in your Arabic language, but Wadi al-Kavir. Wadi al-Kavir. Okay, in Spanish, it is still called Wadi al-Kavir to this day, right? Which again stands for Wadi al-Kabir or Wadi al-Kabir, the great valley. Great valley of what? Of the river. So the Arabs came, they gave their own name to this river because this river goes through great valleys or valley, right? So that's why they gave this name to this river, basically Nahar Wadi al-Kabir, okay? Or the river Wadi al-Kabir as it's called today. So Columbus came through this river, docked here, and offloaded his, loot or his adventure, the outcome or the produce of his adventure, if you want to put it politely, right? After committing all the crimes, and Columbus is deemed to be a hero for some reason in some places, but now people are learning history, they are waking up to history. His statues are being pulled down in Latin America specifically, because that's where the impact was felt by the Native Americans, by the native people of those lands. They felt the impact of the coming of Columbus. And then what followed was the Spanish Inquisition and Spanish colonialism and Spanish settlers who severely brutalized the Native Americans. And one of the results was that millions of Native Americans died because they were not immune to European diseases. Europeans took many diseases with them to Latin America, and millions of Latin Americans actually, there were places that were completely wiped out. They were wiped out. Okay, there is one book I would like to recommend that talks about this, albeit briefly. People's History of the USA, or the People's History of the US. Okay, the United States of America. The author is Howard Zinn, and he talks about the making of what we call today the USA, the United States of America, how it was made and what it's built on. And part of that is, of course, Columbus's discovery, but I'm not going to get into that, otherwise we're going to be here all day, right? So let's come back to the tower. This is very visibly Islamic. It's from the Islamic period. Those arches and those spaces you see on the tower. One question I want to ask you very quickly. Why would they build this tower here on the river? Any ideas very quickly? Time is...
The gold is coming here.
Okay, but...
It's for directions and so to get some sort of perspective where the ships are coming from.
Okay, so it serves as what? It serves as what?
And from military aspect as well, you could keep an eye.
Storage.
Control.
Announcements.
I'm still waiting for the right, correct? Sorry? Protecting against invaders. We're getting there, but I'm not getting the right. Huh? Lighthouse. Oh, we're getting there. How about watchtower?
Lighthouse.
Well, lighthouse is, yes, technically you can say. Watchtower. This served as a watchtower also. Okay? Now guess what? Prepare for the shock. Okay? There was another tower across the river on the other side. Exactly the same. Right? There was another tower and there was a chain that connected these two towers. So you could not...
A brick house?
A brick house, indeed. It's made of bricks and blocks. You're right, absolutely. So there was a chain that connected the two towers, and no one would pass without the permission of the state at the time. Okay, so where else did you see a chain? A very big chain, historically speaking.
Where did it come up, a chain? In famous history, there's another
The-
chain in a river.
That stopped the Muslim conquest.
Yeah. Istanbul. And
Istanbul, Constantinople, there was a massive chain that blocked the channel, and the Muslim army, the navy, could not go beyond the chain because the chain would be pulled and that's it. So that was the same system, but then there was an earthquake, okay, and because of that earthquake, that tower fell and it's gone. The only remaining tower here now in Seville, one of the standing monuments is this particular tower and what we will see later on next to the cathedral. Okay, so as they say, watch this space. We're going to see the cathedral and we're going to see some of the remaining architecture from the Muslim period, from the Al-Murabetun or Al-Mohd period. Okay, and this was a very powerful dynasty that basically ousted the Al-Murabetun, who came in to help the Muslims in the 11th century, because the Muslims are losing territory to the Catholics. From the north, the Catholics, as soon as the Umayyad dynasty fell, again we're going to go into this history in more detail, Brother Tariq is with us, but I want to give you very quick snippets that the Umayyad dynasty fell in 1029 to be precise, okay, 1031, 1031, the Umayyad dynasty fell, having ruled for almost 250 years. Okay, and after the dynasty fell, Muslim Spain split into many small principalities. Okay, this period is called Muluk al-Tawaif. Okay, which means petty kingdoms. Petty kingdoms. So they were city-states. They were city-states that propped up in Al-Andalus, and they were ruling this territory from thenceforth, right? And for the next 50 years, these petty states were fighting each other. They were obviously naturally divided. They were working against each other instead of uniting against a threat that was imminent from the north. The Christians are watching. They are watching and they're watching that these guys, they are losing the plot. They are fighting each other, these fools. That's what they're thinking, right? And what are we going to do about it? Let's attack them. Let's attack them. This is very important history for you to remember, right? So all of these split up Muslim principalities all spread all over what we know today as Andalusia or south central Spain, okay, basically they became sitting ducks. And one after another, the Christians from the north, the Catholics, the kings of Castile and Aragon later on, as these states came to be known, they started to attack the Muslim principalities and they started to take them. Well, this fall would have been very rapid if one of the rulers had not invited a North African dynasty based in current-day Morocco called Al-Murabetun. And they are called Al-Murabetun because they were into ribat. Ribat is to watch your borders, okay, your boundaries. When you are staying awake at night and you are watching over the boundaries of Islamic domain or Islamic state, let's say, at that time, right, you are called a murabit, and the action is called ribat, basically watching over the boundaries, the borders of Islam. So Al-Murabetun were called Al-Murabetun for that reason. So they were invited by the king of Seville, who was ruling from Seville, Al-Mu'tamid. Al-Mu'tamid, who was a poet par excellence. His poetry is so amazing that to this day, people remember him for his poetry, nothing else. People remember him, you know, he's not even remembered as a king, but he's remembered as a poet, Al-Mu'tamid. He decided that he will invite the Al-Murabetun in to rescue the Muslims. And Al-Murabetun came in. And because they were battle-hardened people from the desert, you know, they were tough guys, right? They came in and they basically pushed back the Christians. Christians were defeated, they got the idea and they were pushed back.
Is that the middle or the end? Or?
This is 1080s. We're talking about 1080s, okay? 1080s, 50 years onwards from the collapse of the Umayyad dynasty in Spain. Who
Murabetun is the middle.
is the middle period. It's the middle. There is basically this period peak, and then there is this, and then there is this. Okay, remember. Okay.
What Ustad has just done is he's trying to give you some context. He's gone from the beginning, what happened and what led to this period that we're going to be looking at now. Okay, so remember this period for now. This is the middle part of the history, but that's just for you to get some context. It'll all fall into place once we go to Cordoba.
Absolutely, absolutely. So be patient with us. There is information. It's very interesting, but try to remember it. Okay, and it will be repeated again and again so that you can remember it. So for now, this is enough. I think this is where we are now. Al-Muwahhidun were another dynasty that ousted Al-Murabetun. Al-Murabetun came to power, okay, for about 50 years. And then in 1140s, 1147 to be precise, if not mistaken, another dynasty came in called Al-Muwahhidun. Okay, and Al-Muwahhidun ruled for another 50 years. Okay, so you can say 50 years for Al-Murabetun, almost, okay, and almost 50 years for Al-Muwahhidun, and then came the decline. You can say basically the decline was completed after these capitals were taken by the Catholic monarchs at the time in the mid 13th century. By 1250s, Seville, Cordoba and Valencia had fallen to the Christians, okay, and the Muslims were pushed downwards towards the south, and this is where by 1250s another dynasty, the Nasrid dynasty of Granada, rose to prominence, and we will talk more about that inshallah. Okay, so this was a very yes, all of this was Muslim territory. Central Spain, parts of northern Spain and all of southern Spain was Muslim, even Portugal, right? So Al-Andalus consisted of Portugal and Spain, what we call the Iberian Peninsula. At one time, Muslims ruled 90% of this peninsula, at one time. But then this territory shrunk over centuries, over decades. Things happened and a lot happened. There are books written on this, very detailed books that we cannot cover in one short sitting like this or standing like this.
Very quickly, just the before, the after, the territories under Muslim control, that don't worry about any of that for now, okay? For now, focus on Seville. This is the middle of the history. Two dynasties we need to remember is the Murabetun and the Muwahhidun. But what I want you to do very quickly, we need to start moving. What I want you to do is just remember what I said right at the beginning is what do we need to do when we're moving along? reflect and ponder. What I want you to reflect and ponder on at this moment in time is the importance and significance of this moment. This place that you are standing at, can anybody just give me an idea of how enormous this moment is, this place is? What does it mean to you? What happened here?
Takes you back. Makes you wonder.
What happened here?
Trade. Trade would have happened, right?
Yeah, but trade happens everywhere.
Something new, right? I mean, they brought in very peculiar goods from an unknown land.
The whole
Assalamu alaikum. Again from Torre del Oro, the tower from the Al-Murabetun period. You see the river Wad al-Kavir behind me? It was through this river the Vikings were raiding Al-Andalus during the Muslim period, and Muslim emirs were fighting the Viking threat for a very long time. So Vikings had become a serious nuisance for not only the Brits and other parts of European countries, but also even Al-Andalus. Here Vikings came as far as Seville. They raided Seville many times because of the river, and they even raided Lisbon. Just wanted to share this very quickly. You can see the river behind me. This is Wad al-Kavir river, and there is Torre del Oro right there in front of us. So just wanted to mention that very quickly so that this important fact is not left out. So that tower is one of the remaining monuments from the Muslim period, which still stands to this day. There were two. There was one opposite this one, and this is the second one that stands to this day. This is where Christopher Columbus's treasures were kept when he came back from the Americas through this river, and this is where his loot or his produce, if you like, was kept when he came back from the Americas. Torre del Oro, the Golden Tower is called, and very important monument in the history of Islamic Spain. Sorry, we're doing this vlogging for online audience as well, yeah? Okay, so we stopped here for a reason. Now what you see around us was once upon a time, I just want you to have this perspective on Seville, on Ishbiliya, what a Muslim capital would have looked like. You still have remains, some of it still stands, but you will have to actually go and look for it. You're going to have to search for it. You're going to have to search for it. So this is basically, imagine it as a Muslim market. Imagine this as a very busy Muslim market area where you have bookshops, where you have vegetables being sold, where you have all sorts of business taking place, right? There are shops lined up here all the way as far as the eye can see. Why? You know why? Why I say that? Because there is Alcazar, the walls you can see of Alcazar. Alcazar is now called Alcazar in the Spanish language, which stands for, again, the palace of the king. The sultans were in that vicinity. You can see a tower standing to this day, okay, from that period. This is one of the remaining towers. This is from the Islamic period. You can see the arches, you can see the bricks, you can see the architecture is very visibly Islamic. Okay, so it's part of that tower, part of that palace, Alcazar. Okay, we're gonna start moving now very slowly if you keep coming with me. Okay, what you see in front of us is a very giant, imposing structure. If you move to this side, making sure there is no buggy coming so that we don't get run over by the horse and the buggy. But I want you to look at this building, this imposing structure. It is massive, it is gigantic. You can only see one side of it from here. But when we go around it, you will see how big it is. This is the Cathedral of Seville that is standing on the foundations of the great mosque of Seville, the great masjid, Jame Masjid. Okay? By looking at this structure, you can only imagine how big the masjid would have been once upon a time, and what a monument to Islam that masjid would have been. And you can only imagine by looking at what remains of it. Once you look at what remains of it, it is so amazing, it is so imposing, it is so mesmerizing, that then you can have an idea of the masjid, what the masjid might have looked like. And then when we go to Cordoba, inshallah tomorrow, when we see Cordoba, Masjid Cordoba, okay, then you will have a better idea of what this masjid might have looked like. And when we go to Granada and we see the Cathedral of Granada, even that was built on the site of the great Masjid of Granada. So when you look at Alhambra Palace and the artwork and the calligraphy and the carvings and the beautiful artistic expression in Alhambra Palace, you can only imagine what the masjid would have looked like. Allahu Akbar. We have no idea. Unfortunately, no text, no historian has described these monuments as they should have been described. And I believe, I know why. No pen, no qalam can encompass the beauty of Alhambra and Qartaba Mosque. There is not a historian, there is not a poet, there is not a writer, not an author who can put the beauty of Alhambra Palace and the Masjid Qartaba in his writing or in his poetic expression. This is why they did not describe these things. But looking at what remains, and as we will see, walk with me inshallah. So this cathedral stands exactly on the foundations of the masjid. What you see in front of us here, this is a very important building as well. Okay, this is, as you can see, written on the door, Archivo General de Indias. Okay, so these are archives from the Indies. Okay, which Indies, by the way? Not your India, not your India. This is from West India. Okay, this is where the archives were kept of all the adventures and what came with those adventures and what was acquired from the Indies and the records. How many, how many territories were actually occupied. So, Brother Tariq, maybe you can take over very quickly and explain, inshallah.
Okay, so I want to hear from you guys. What is the significance of this place? What does this tell you? What are you taking from this? Why is this important?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, look, I was talking earlier about the magnitude of this structure, right? You could only see a glimpse of it. Now you can see the length of it. You see, it starts from this side and goes all the way down there, okay? And this was all once upon a time a masjid. Now imagine the size of this cathedral. Just try to imagine how big the masjid was and how much of calligraphy and artwork and carving and the mimbar and artistic expression that we will see in Qartaba Masjid tomorrow. Qartaba Masjid is older than this one. Qartaba Masjid was finished, okay, in the 10th century. As far as we can see today, what stands of Qartaba Masjid, it was finished in the 10th century. The last expansion of Qartaba Masjid took place in the reign or during the reign of Ibn Abi Amir, okay? And Ibn Abi Amir ruled the last quarter of the 10th century, okay? And this was built after Qartaba Masjid. Imagine what this would have been like. We cannot imagine, but we can get some glimpse into it by looking at the magnificence of what remains of it, inshallah. So let's walk. The masjid is gone completely. It was completely razed to the ground. Once Seville fell to the Catholics, they came in and they destroyed the masjid. They demolished it, they razed it to the ground, and they built a cathedral in its place. What you can see right now, okay? This was started in the 13th century, and then it was built over time. It was built over time. It wasn't done in one because they were short of funds as well. So this was built over time. You can see one of the entrances to the cathedral as it stands today. You can see it's very lavishly built. There's a lot of carving and a lot of effort that has gone into it. Obviously, this was a symbol of victory for the Christians. Okay? Why there was so much work put into this? Because it was a symbol of victory for them. They were trying to make a point. The point was that yes, there was a masjid here. Now we have this cathedral and it is magnificent. That was the idea. That's why it was built in this lavish way. You can see all that work gone into it. Looking at its own beauty, it is imposing. It is very imposing. it has its own unique beauty, right? There's a lot of hard work gone into it, as you can see. Okay, so this was one of the main entrances. There are a few entrances. This is one of the main entrances. And look at that Alcazar behind us. That's Alcazar. So if you show the palace there, Alcazar, this is where the sultans were living. The sultans were living. So basically, when the sultan had to pray Jummah, he would come out of the castle or the fortress or the palace, and he would walk into the masjid and pray with the Jama'ah. Okay, obviously, I don't know if he was praying with the people, because the sultan's life is always threatened, you know, so he has to have security, right? But the idea was to build this masjid right in front of the Qasr, the palace, so that the sultan can come and pray with the people. And this was a masjid. Now it's a cathedral, but the Qasr still stands to this day. And now inside the Qasr, this Qasr was originally built by Muslim sultans, right? First, the dynasty that was here before Al-Murabetun, and after then Murabetun added their parts to it, and then Al-Muwahhidun added their parts to it, and then came the Christian kings, and now the Qasr inside, the palace inside, is a Christian palace built by Muslims. Built by Muslims. You will see why. Tomorrow you will see why, inshallah. Okay, let's go. Look, we saw a major entrance to the cathedral. This is one of the side ones. It's not as lavish, as big, as gigantic as that one, but even this one, you can see it is very carefully carved and made. Again, the point is to show victory over Islam. This was the point. The point was that here we are, we have built this cathedral. Your masjid was magnificent, so is our cathedral. We have removed your masjid, we have built the cathedral. So that's the point. You can see the story from the Bible, from the New Testament, Jesus entering Jerusalem on a donkey, riding a donkey. You can see that. So that scene is being depicted there on the cathedral. Okay, there are those archangels on the top. Sorry, I do apologize. Sorry. Okay, so let's keep moving. Yeah, continue recording. So now you're in for a surprise. Okay, prepare for the surprise. Very quickly, move with me, please. Okay. Lo and behold, what remains of the masjid is, this is what remains of the masjid. Now, the minaret from the Almohad period stands to this day. It is from the 12th century. Okay, 12th century, 13th century, 12th century, 1100s. Okay, and this minaret, where else can you find it? Come closer, please. Come closer.
You'll have time to take photos.
You have seen it in Marrakesh. Okay, right. Interesting. So who built the tower or the minaret in Marrakesh? The same dynasty. Exactly the same dynasty. So what you have to understand is, this is what remains of the masjid. Now, looking at this giant structure, okay, what do you think the masjid was like? You can only imagine. Just imagine. Okay, I don't think the cathedral gets anywhere close to the aesthetics of this particular tower. As nice or as beautiful as the cathedral is, right, but it doesn't get any close to the beauty, the clarity, okay, and the geometric pattern of this tower. So this was the minaret upon which the muaddin would climb and call the adhan. And you know how he would get up there? I want you to know. Guys, come close to me, inshallah. I want you to tell me how the muaddin would climb up there. Any ideas? Any guesses?
Ladder?
A lift.
Lift.
A lift, okay. A basket, someone pulling the basket up. Any more ideas?
Ladder.
Nothing too sophisticated, but like I don't think they would climb just a 5 days.
A rope?
A rope, stairs. But imagine a guy climbing all the way up there every day, 5 times a day. Sorry? No, he wouldn't live up there because he has to pray. He has to come down and pray. So he, just to save time, he would use an animal, a horse or a mule, to go up there, right? Because if he was climbing
Up the stairs.
Up the stairs.
There's a ramp.
Yeah, just imagine. Just imagine. Now, another important fact I want to mention very quickly. That cathedral looks very different from the top. Can you see? The art changes, the design changes, the style changes. What happened there? The Christian additions. Later on, the bells were added. Again, the point is to announce victory. Okay, yeah, here is this Islamic tower. It was built by the Muslims. They are gone now. We are here, and we will put our bells on top of this tower to announce our victory. So this is what the point was, and you can see the bells to this day. And then you have a reference from the Bible, Proverb 18. Proverb 18. Okay, I don't remember exactly what it says. Do you remember, Tariq Bhai? Okay, but maybe we can Google it and see what Proverb 18. I'm pretty sure it's about victory, something to do with victory. Okay, okay. So that was added later on. Okay, so you can only have an idea. You can only imagine what the masjid would have looked like. Very quickly, follow me, please. Follow me. Move with me very quickly. So we have some more that remains. It's part of the madrasa that was attached to the masjid. Okay, so that building next door was once upon a time a madrasa from the Muslim period. You can see that from the arches. It is the Muslim architecture from that period, and it is absolutely amazing. It has its own beauty. The horseshoe, the famous horseshoe arches inspired by Qartaba Masjid. Okay, Abdurrahman al-Dakhil, Abdurrahman the First, he introduced this idea, the idea of horseshoe arches that look like a palm tree. You will see in Qartaba tomorrow, inshallah, that every arch looks like a palm tree. So this was his nostalgia. You know, he came from Damascus, and he was living in Damascus during the reign of his grandfather. Who was his grandfather? The powerful, the famous Umayyad Caliph called Hisham bin Abdul Malik, who ruled for 20 years. Very powerful figure. Abdurrahman the First, who established the Umayyad dynasty here in Spain, was his grandson. Okay, his name was Abdurrahman bin Muawiyah bin Hisham bin Abdul Malik bin Marwan bin Hakam. Okay, so this was a family, a sub-tribe of Quraysh, and they were indirectly related to the Prophet ﷺ through one ancestor, Abd Manaf. Okay, so everyone, to conclude, this is an absolutely magnificent piece of work left behind by the Muslims from the Al-Mawhad period. The tower still remains, the mosque is gone, and there's a cathedral in its place, and that's the madrasa there, you can see. Okay, on that side, that's what remains of the madrasa. I want to show you very quickly. Okay, so this wall, what you can see there, this part is the madrasa. Okay, next to the tower, this is the tower, and this, what remains, is the madrasa, or the remains of the madrasa. Okay, this is Seville, Ishbiliya, once upon a time the Muslim capital. Okay, this is where the masjid stood, and this magnificent tower can give you an idea what the masjid might have looked like once upon a time. So from Seville, bye now, inshallah. I'll be sharing more stuff from Cordoba tomorrow. Similarly, some history. These are snippets. These are, you can say, history shorts, history bites, history snippets. Inshallah, I'll be sharing this from Spain so that you can also join in and join our tours, inshallah. Once you come on the ground, see things for yourselves and behold these things with your own eyes. That's a very different experience altogether, brothers and sisters. I'm talking about looking at these Islamic monuments with your own eyes on the ground. There is nothing like that. So you can check out our future dates on halalgetaways.com, halalgetaways.com, and you can also join us. Assalamu alaikum. I'll join you tomorrow from Cordoba. Until then, assalamu alaikum.